All right. John, you're coming in. Hi, Jamie.
Hi,
Hey, John, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm really well. Nice to see your face.
Yeah. Is everything working? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you great.
Cool, cool.
I'm so excited about this.
It's been a
How
while.
I know it's been a while. I mean, we met in New York many years ago, and it's good to have a fellow West Coaster out here now.
I
So,
know. You inspired me.
yeah, well, I don't know.
You started a
I es-
trend.
I escaped just in time. So before we get started, just wanted to welcome everybody to the Thinking of Art call series. It's something that I started during quarantine to really introduce you to artists and interior designers and creatives and provide a bit of education and fun dialogue for you for a half hour. And so today we have John Call, who's a founder of Mr. Call Designs. And we, like I mentioned earlier, we met in New York probably a decade ago, or I don't even know,
Yeah, it's been a while.
a while. And now we both are here on the West Coast. I'm in Los Angeles. John is in Palm Springs, and so we wanted to talk about consumerism and how things have changed and a lot of different things. But first, just wanted to welcome you to the conversation and for you to share a little bit about your backstory and how you got into design.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up in Seattle, Washington, and went to college out there. Originally, really focused on architecture, on
Hmm.
on space itself, and then of course moved into decorative furnishings and interiors.
Hmm.
And then immediately split out for New York, like in 2002, like right when the World Trade Centers came down, and yeah, and started working out there. And I really wanted to work with like the exceptional talents of our generation and really hone those skills. And there was something about the way people made decisions to buy things and what they chose to surround themselves with that
Hmm.
fascinated me. It wasn't
Hmm.
necessarily that I liked a period or that I liked a color scheme or a fabric, because those are all just commodities to me. But
Yeah.
I loved the process of people making decisions about what was of value to them. Because like you know as well as I, when you show a client something, they're gonna have this like instinct and they're like, that's good and that's bad. And
Yeah.
I always go like, how did you know? How do you know this? But
Hmm.
anyway, so I love that process and worked as in the architectural department at a company called Diamond Barada for about 5 years or so, back when they were hand drafting still. So we were using charcoal and pencil sharpeners and rulers. It was the old days, and then went
Back in the dark ages.
the dark ages. There might have been a light bulb. I can't remember. And yeah, and then I wanted to try a different side of the coin, and I went for a younger firm with a guy named Henderson, who really focuses kind of on like very
Love
luxurious.
Sean.
Oh my
Yep.
God, he's the best.
Amazing.
I tutored under him. I try to be half as charming and half as handsome as he is, and I can never jump that bar.
You're both. You're both.
But I learned. I mean, his fine skill at creating such beautiful, timeless, and luxurious interiors. Like I loved that about working with him,
Hmm.
and specifically focused on a lot of mid-century with him and unique mid-century. And then after that, when I turned 35, it was just time to go out on my own and spread my wings and just kind of see if I could create or carve out a voice within the industry that would, help us grow as a creative community.
Hmm.
I saw a platform there, and I started my company, Mr. Call Designs, and it really was about. I was such a young man at the time, and I thought the word "Mister" was hysterical because I liked the irony. I was like, "This is ridiculous."
Yeah.
And when I was a junior at Diamond Barada, you always, met your seniors, and you had to call them Mister.
Hmm.
And when I remember always going back to my computer, like and going, oh, one day I want to be a Mister. So,
Yeah.
so
Well,
then
you are.
I want to be. So then I started my
You
company.
are now.
I am, and started in New York, and it did very well. And it was about blending kind of more of a youthful focus and a
Hmm.
transitional background. And
Hmm.
we got a lot of awards, and it did well. And then about a year and a half ago or a year ago, I moved it out here to Palm Springs. And I'm trying to see if it, what kind of legs it has out here, how you can
Yeah.
take a business that was created and really a product of New York, and if it translates in other places, quite frankly, or how that works, or how it'll make me shift, or how it'll make me grow. So,
So what was the main reason why you moved, if you don't mind me asking?
as a business person, overhead got to be so expensive that I started
Mm,
taking on jobs that I didn't love.
okay. Makes
And
sense. I hear that a
I,
lot.
And I mean, it was really practical, to be honest with you. I love New York. That's where
Hmm.
my friends are, the people that inspire me
Hmm.
are. I was for a
Hmm.
long time. But it got into a scary situation where I knew that I was risking too much, and I was also compromising my integrity, in my own opinion. Like, I mean, I loved all my clients, don't get me wrong, but
I
I
hear
just
you.
I just felt
Well,
like there was other chapters to write and other voices for me as a creative to have, and I wasn't being afforded that opportunity.
I mean, it's the same for artists. So many artists have obviously been priced out of New York City and are going elsewhere. Even Los Angeles right now is becoming kind of more expensive for artists to be here, and they're looking, for other areas of the LA area even to find now.
Right,
So
right.
I totally get that. And plus, it can't beat the sunshine and the quality of life here. I
No, it's
mean,
great. And there's such a migration of creativity. I mean, it's
yeah.
like, whenever you travel the world, like over
Hmm.
the last couple of years, I've been in Mexico City a ton, and you can just feel the electricity of a creative environment.
Hmm.
Berlin was like this 15 years ago, and it's just where you start seeing kind of some type of electricity happening. The synapses are firing,
Hmm.
and I personally connected to that energy anyway. So it's been interesting. I like it.
So why Palm Springs and not LA?
Well, I have family here, so
Okay.
that wasn't part of the decision. But also, I'd done big cities,
Yeah.
and I was like, I don't know. I thought Palm Springs checked a lot of boxes. It has a really thriving creative community.
It
It's
does.
got a great airport. It's really
Hmm.
focused on design, especially with architecture and interiors. And
Hmm.
within that structure, I felt like I could have a voice in it.
Yeah, I love
I
the contrast of Palm Springs and LA.
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah,
mean, just like the contrast of Palm Springs, Newport, and LA. I mean, in
yeah,
Santa
yeah, yeah.
Barbara. I mean, they're all really different.
So
There's
different.
some people that say, "Oh, you're in LA or you're in California." They don't really, if they haven't lived here and spent time here, they don't really understand the diversity of the state. Because it
And
is
how
so
we all go to
huge.
all the communities ourselves and enjoy them.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like, I mean,
Absolutely.
it's the Brooklyns.
Yeah. Well, I love Palm Springs, and I was just out there let's see, it was 3 weeks ago when it was 118 degrees, and
Oh my God.
I mean that's pretty amazing. But I want to ask you, kind of transition into how are you dealing with the heat slash COVID slash changing times that we're in with your clients that are out there right now?
It's been challenging. As every person that pivots, you've got to take a inventory to figure out what you have and what you don't have. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Like, and right now, I was like, well, damn, I don't have a lot of the things I relied on in the past, which is personal contact with people. You know what I mean? I can't let them touch the fabric. I can't walk through the space sometimes in real life. Like,
Hmm.
like all
Yeah,
these things that I've known. But what I do have is a ton of people that are moving to this market. Property values went up 27% in the last quarter, and we currently are at a negative inventory on real estate. It's growing super fast,
hmm,
and I'm local. And
yeah,
so I started focusing on that. I'm a published designer. I'm educated. I have integrity with my designs, and I hold a very high level and a very high bar to my designs. And I'm local because
yeah,
usually people had to fly in their design teams in order to design their houses out here.
absolutely, yeah.
And I was like, nobody wants to be doing that right now cross country.
No,
So,
it's great
so,
that you're a resource out there.
so I was just like, you know what? I don't have what I normally have, but I can go visit the house every
Yeah.
day if they need it, and
What's
I
the
can
temp?
manage it.
What's the temperature right now? Somebody just asked the question.
Oh my gosh. I think it's 112. It's insane.
It's
It's
gonna be.
insane.
We're a little heat wave right now. Even in LA, I think it's mid 90s or something. I haven't looked at the temperature today, but
It's
um,
insane.
it's dry heat. It's not humid, so
No.
And, you know,
And
it's
it's
like
beautiful nights. Beautiful nights.
beautiful nights. I love how it gets chilly at night.
Yeah.
So, what can we talk more about, like the changes overall? I mean, I know that you know you're doing Zoom calls and you're navigating through COVID, but how
Hmm.
have you seen consumerism change during COVID? You know, the last 6 months in particular.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I love about it, again, because how shall I say this? Being a consultant, what really drives me is assisting people to make decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like in the market now in interior design, really that's what I am. I'm a coach to kind of guide them through the process, show people what's on the market, what's available, teach them what a fair price is for something, or kind of negotiate on their behalf so we get it into a realm where it's accessible for them. So those are
Mm-hmm.
the skills that I think interior design are evolving into. It's a little different than it was a decade ago. It really is being a financial manager in terms like this is how we're going to invest your cash.
Well,
And
and
now,
it's and you're
yeah.
sorting you're sorting through the chaos
Oh
because
my
there
gosh.
everything is online now. Everybody is at home, or most people are at home,
And the
and
bandwidth is really crowded for everybody in their head. It makes it very difficult to make
it's
decisions.
overwhelming. Yeah.
And when they have, and especially my focus, I mean, for whatever reason, my clientele has generally been male and it's generally been 35 or under.
Hmm.
I don't know how that happened, but that's generally what I've had. And they haven't had the opportunity to purchase a sofa in their life before. They don't even know the questions to ask. And so
Wow.
they don't,
Wow. Yeah.
so they don't even know what the difference is between a synthetic fill, or a down fill, or a down feather fill, or a 50-50. I mean, these not basic questions, but these complex
Hmm.
questions that they're not faced with, and they don't. I don't know. So educating people so they can make better decisions and invest their money better,
Hmm.
because everybody wants to invest their money different
Right.
in this era of mixing high and low.
Well, but there's also because of the saturation of everything being online and people promoting their own businesses
Yeah.
and people are overwhelmed. I feel like some of my clients think that they're the experts whenever they're like, oh, I saw a piece and I don't really need you. And I'm like, okay, well, that's totally fine. But do you look at the condition report? What is the resume of the track record of the artist? I mean, are museums collecting the work or looking at the work? I mean, has it sold at auction? I mean, there's so many things like that, like that I do and you do, that people are like, they just think that we just buy beautiful things all the time, which we do.
But that,
Um,
but it
but
goes
there's
to
a lot more
show.
behind the scenes that we work with. So I wanted to talk more about the granularity of kind of of what you do so people understand. I think that's
Yeah.
a really good example of a sofa that somebody's like, oh, I just want a sofa, but all, from the fabric to I'm allergic to feathers, for example. So
Right.
anything that I order or have ordered in for my house, is, is alternative down.
Well,
So,
and like most people, to your point, just to finish this, and I'll circle back.
mhm.
Down and feather is one of the worst things that you can do in terms of being humane, in terms of having a sofa that keeps a line where the fabric doesn't stretch, in terms of allergies and being hypoallergenic. You
Mhm.
shouldn't do down and feather. You should do foam. And right now, because we're being more environmentally conscious, we should be doing soy foams. Now, there's no cost difference between soy
Mhm.
foam and regular foam.
That's a
So why,
really good
but so
point.
why aren't people doing it? So when I'm
Great point.
advising people, I'm not upselling them. I'm just trying
Hmm.
to guide them to the right place so
Sure.
that they can feel really good about their investment. And generally, so I'm circling back to your point though, I get clients after they've screwed up their first house. Not before,
Yeah.
because they need, I call it the consumer ladder. They need to go in and have that freedom to screw up
Yeah.
before they realize the value of having someone guide them.
Hmm.
And in my market, which I find very interesting about interior design, is because, I mean, specifically with me, I'm mixing off the rack with custom and
Hmm.
found items and auction items and
Love that. Hmm.
and that's where I get, I'm about mixing these things because I think the tension gets better and I think it curates a collection over time. But
Hmm.
because I'm working on that with them, it's just important they know what they're paying for.
Yeah. I Yeah, I think Corey's asking a couple questions here. Have you had clients select specific pieces, and then once they're in the position, they change their mind? How do you respond?
um yeah, I mean I have, and it's unfortunate.
Hmm.
You know, they have to take responsibility ultimately for their decisions,
Yeah, of course. There's not much
as
you
we
can
all
do
do.
when you think on it.
Like, but I hold my
Yeah.
clients to the fire a little bit. I'm not the easiest designer to work with, and I know I'm in customer service, but that doesn't mean I always have to be accommodating. And so that is a weird thing that has been a strength of mine and also has been a weakness, to be fair.
Yeah. I mean, I totally get that. I mean, we're entrepreneurs who work for ourselves, and a lot of people obviously are busy during the day and hit us up, late at night or in the middle of the night or whatever. And I understand creating those boundaries. We have to, otherwise we won't have a normal,
Correct.
workflow. Let's talk about kind of some of your favorite artists. I mean, I know
Yeah.
in some of the promotional
Oh yeah.
images that we had, you had a beautiful retina,
Amazing. Yeah.
which I'm a big fan
Yeah.
of that
Yeah.
artist. And you talk about maybe an artist like Retina or other artists that you particularly like right now.
Yeah. I mean, right now, I'm, well, yes, retina was kind of my gateway drug. And for my clients, and again, especially because I'm dealing with people that are younger and they're
Mm-hmm.
learning how to spend their money in home, what the one thing I know is, what they don't know is they're going to move in 2 to 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've gone through the process and I've done it
Yeah.
so many times, and I'm just like, let's not invest in the sofa, because
Right.
everybody always
Exactly.
thinks they need to spend, $5,000 to $10,000 on a sofa, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, you know what? Let's not. Let's get a good piece of art,
I love that.
because then
Mm-hmm.
we'll dial down all these other things, but people aren't going to notice as much, and they don't care. And
Yeah.
you know what I mean? The balance is it. That's the
Art's more
mix.
timeless, and the furniture changes over.
And you can ship it cross country if you need to
Mhm.
overnight, or you can sell it so much quicker than a used sofa if
Yeah.
you really need to get your value back out of it. So yeah, retina and a lot of abstract stuff um, was really kind of what was happening for me when I was in New York over the last decade. It just kind
Mm-hmm.
of seemed to be where consumers were going, and something that I connected to. I
Mm-hmm.
loved that Retina was creating his own visual language that combined graffiti with hieroglyphics with like
Mm-hmm.
other kind of things. But honestly, now I'm getting into like realist, like Caravaggio, like classic stuff. Like my dream would be to do, collect some of those more antique pieces, because
Yeah.
I've kind of gone through my contemporary moment.
There's a great
And
artist I should put on your radar, and I think he's on the live with me. I did a live with. He was actually my very first live. Grayson Rutowski. He's based in Mallorca, so you
really,
would probably like his work. And he's really reasonably priced and just a great person.
there's
So,
a lot of younger artists that are starting to practice with that real
mm-hmm.
classic type of painting. And some of it is so sensual and so cinematic. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's what I love about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I put my furnishings in there, my neutral furnishings that have kind of a soft sculptural attitude, the tension is just so sexy. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah,
So,
I get
so
that. So, what is your favorite part about your job and what you do?
I mean, again, it's really kind of learning about what turns people on, what
Mm-hmm.
makes them tick. And as I'm discovering that, they're discovering it about themselves as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because no one's going to know the first day we meet what they really like in life, or
Mm-hmm.
who they are, quite frankly.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of our process, what I love is what I know with my homes is that the last day that I leave that apartment or that home or that residence,
Yeah.
that the journey just began. I just created the book for them to write the rest of their narrative in. I'm not one of those designers that when I leave, the house starts getting worse and worse and more dated every year,
Mm-hmm.
because you're like, oh, you captured every trend of 1992. Amazing. No, it's because I'm curating collections and I'm keeping them in a fairly neutral environment. That collection is going to expand and grow and evolve, and hopefully they're going to be able to purchase with more confidence and know
Mm-hmm.
what's right or wrong. And that's my favorite part, is
Do
creating
you?
collectors.
I understand that. Yeah, that's one of my favorite. I think hunting for the pieces is probably my favorite aspect. But then
Oh,
finally, like having a home run with a client is also just very, really exciting.
yeah.
Um, Talk about your kind of some of your favorite museums that before, obviously now we can't really go to the museums, but what museums do you look to provide some inspiration?
Gosh, what's the one in Amsterdam? That big old one, the castle?
Yes, I have a picture right where it says I am right in
Yeah, yeah,
front.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yes, I'm blanking. I was there a
But I
couple of years ago.
but
I'm blanking. I love that one.
I think the Rembrandts and the Dutch still lifes. I think that, I mean, I was there like a year and a half ago, right
Mm-hmm.
before, and I mean, I think that that's where I started seeing the overscale canvases that are architectural in scale. I mean, they
Mm-hmm.
felt, I mean, I'm
Oh,
exaggerating, but
The Rijksmuseum.
correct, correct,
Yes,
correct, correct. And you
Jamie
would,
Drake. Thank you so
oh,
much.
thank you, Jamie. And no, and you would see like, those Rembrandts that were like 30 feet, night watch, 30 feet long and 20 feet
Yeah.
tall or whatever the hell it is. And to me, that's a retina.
Mm-hmm.
For me, because the architectural scale is there and that cinematographic kind of
Yeah.
moodiness, I think that's where I started getting turned on by these. I mean, I think that's also where I got turned on or started noticing more like framing. Because for so long, I'd always stayed with a fairly minimal studio style frame.
That's a really good point. Yeah.
And I was like
Can totally
looking at
change the vibe of the room, of the piece of
totally.
art, whatever.
And the,
Yeah.
the gesso frames that were cracked or gilded
Mm-hmm.
or whatever they were, sometimes they were black or platinum. And I thought those
Mm-hmm.
frames really brought architecture to a room,
Mm-hmm.
and I really thought that the scale was amazing. And then the wall colors were so modern. And because they were doing these dusty plums, and I mean, they're always like a dusty, like avocado, even like these strange
Mm-hmm.
colors. But for some reason, they really connect with the art, and that's what really kind of inspired my homes. I mean, and the chevron flooring, for example, like that's really trending in terms of homes here, at least on the West Coast.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I think of the Rijksmuseum. And then I just want to
Yeah.
put the sofa in there, and I want to put like that. I mean,
Yeah.
that's where I get turned on. So
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Um, Now, because of COVID and limited travel, how are you sourcing the materials for the home right now? The stone, the fabrics, things like that. Obviously, you can get swatches sent to you, things like that. But how do you
yeah,
deal with that with your clients?
it
Because
on
like
it.
picking out like, stone for the bathroom or
uh,
countertops or whatever. I mean, talk about those challenges right now and how you're dealing with it.
Honestly, businesses are. I'm so sorry. I'm so embarrassed to answer this question. It's making me laugh because it's so easy right now,
Okay.
and because I thought it was going to be such a challenge. But businesses have reacted so quickly. And there's one resource that I use currently for everything, and it's called Material Connection. It's online. It's got a infinite database of architectural materials and home furnishing products,
Okay.
and
I'll write that down.
they ship it out to you within 24 hours. They FedEx overnight. It's all free.
That's
I'm,
amazing.
I mean, so I'm
Okay.
shopping some of the highest end. Like right now, I'm shopping for reclaimed European wood parquet floors, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I want them to be in an ebonized black, kind of a shoshugibon kind of deliciousness mixed with
Mm-hmm.
Bavaria. I don't know. But so I've got this fantasy, and I'm like, who the heck is going to have that?
Mm-hmm.
And then you go on Material Connection, you put it in the search bar, and they
Is
have
it a
it.
new site or has it been around a while?
It's brand
Okay.
new.
All right.
And it's like,
Awesome.
and it comes shipped out like in an Apple box. Like the presentation is so gorgeous, and it's ready for presentation. And you're just like, you thought
Wow.
of everything for
Free
me.
promo for them.
I know. It's a great one, but
We,
that's why I'm so embarrassed because I'm like, you think about it today, you get it delivered to your door tomorrow.
yeah. What are some other sites that you like, um, that you've used? I mean, I have some friends that have just bought new houses, and some are, they're using interior designers, but they're also like deciding to purchase some of the things themselves, and they're finding that there are major delays with some of the,
Yeah,
from the major ones, major that we know, Restoration or Wayfair or whatever.
yeah, those
But
aren't my
from the
favorite. Just like I'm kind of online because I'm looking it up right now. It's
okay,
interior. There's one site that I love for the home furnishings. Interior Define. Have you
interior
heard of them?
design.
They're
No.
very affordable. So we're talking like $2,000 sofas, $800 chairs, something along those
Hmm.
lines. But Jason Wu just did a collection for them. It's sick. And it's soy foam. It's locally harvested. It's
Amazing.
sustainable. The fabrics are 1,000,000% customizable. The fabrics range from something that's very affordable to things that are near luxury. I'm
Hmm.
not going to say
Okay.
they're like I mean, and so for me, Interior Define's been nailing it, and it has the vocabulary of furnishings that's confusing enough that it can fit in traditional or contemporary. That's that space I like to stay in, that
Okay.
middle zone.
So are there, if you don't, I hope you don't mind me asking this as far as price point, right? So just like in my business, when people are like, I can't afford an art advisor, and
Right.
or I can't afford whatever. You never say that when you're buying a home. The real estate agent, the
Yeah.
private banker is going to take their fee, whatever. I mean, everybody has to make a living here, but especially because of how much time and energy that you put into building those relationships, right?
Right.
So talk about how your fee structure works, and
Yeah.
is there a minimum that you
Yeah.
would be able to work with a client? If you don't mind me asking the question.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'll tell you the difference between a homeowner doing it themselves and working with me is I get it done on time and on budget. And when homeowners do it themselves, the projects never end and they're always over budget. So you come to me when you need guidance and structure as well as creative advice, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that, for example, in Palm Springs, you can enjoy your weekend and not stress out about finding a sofa. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
just your wasted time where you could be generating more capital. And so that's where I see my value. What's interesting is because I do a variety of product,
Mm-hmm.
and to be honest with you, I don't really do interior design showroom product very much anymore, as much as I'd like to anyway. That's not true. I either do my own high-end custom,
Mm-hmm.
or I do cheap, or I do used.
Right.
It's
Okay.
in
But you like
and
to mix it up, which I
but
like.
but that's what I like. But if I
Yeah.
spend money, it's going to be on something custom.
Mm-hmm.
What's interesting is the used stuff right now. Like if we get into the antiques market, it's so depreciated
Yeah,
that
it
it's
is.
less expensive than Crate and Barrel. So that's why going to Restoration Hardware is really makes no sense to buy a farmhouse table when you can get a real one for half the price,
Mm-hmm.
shipped from France. And
Mm-hmm.
then when we start talking about off the rack furniture, because there's going to be pieces you fill in. I just don't believe everybody should have a life full of like only expensive furniture. It's boring.
Mm-hmm.
And some off the rack pieces, they get 20 to 30% off when they work with me. So my design services are almost free if I start specifying in that range. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
So
Yep.
generally,
Absolutely.
I mean, I've got to have a minimum of 75K to start playing in with home in terms of taking you on as a project.
Mm-hmm. Right.
There have been times where I can do some hourly, but the issue with the hourly is where I can advise people, just give them kind of like red light, green light, yellow
Mm-hmm.
light.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is that turns into a VIP service because they need that hourly that day, and it
Yeah.
pushes out the client that signed up for the
Yeah. And they
project.
feel like that they have priority. Yeah. I get
And
that.
so
That's
I
tricky.
sometimes I can do that, but only when the scheduling allows. And they have to know with the hourly that it's you know
So let's talk about the favorite places that you source kind of random things for the home. I mean, do you like flea markets? Do you like secondhand store? I mean, where do you go? You don't have to name the specific places, but just to give people an idea of how your mind works and your process works.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite place for auction is online called I just Invaluable, and it's one of the best home auction sites for home pieces I've seen. It sources all across the globe. It's super easy to use. Everybody, it's
Hmm.
like it's what First Dibs wants to be. Or sorry, but
Right. Well,
but
First
I
Dibs
mean,
is more high end. Yeah.
well, no, Invaluable is pretty high end. I mean, it's
Okay. Well,
like
I haven't been to the site, so I'll check it
it's
out.
it's it's a full cross section. So, like for
Okay.
example, I started collecting American Amish antiques because it connects to modernism for me,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
the pieces are going for a few $100s, and
Amazing.
and they're all legit and they're all certified, and you can go. And so anyway, so that's a great place for across the board antique furniture, one stop shopping. Like that's
Okay.
a great place to start. And then out here in Palm Springs, I mean, we just have a ton and ton and ton of great secondhand or consignment stores for furniture. And Misty's is well known and well regarded, and everybody loves it a ton. And everybody goes there once a week. The turnover of merchandise is amazing.
I love going in secondhand stores. I mean, I was in Colorado. I was in Aspen a few weeks, 3 weeks ago,
Mhm.
2 weeks ago, I guess. And I was eating lunch. There was a secondhand store right next door. I was like, yeah, I'll just go in there. And I saw an amazing chair that I liked, a vintage chair that,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
that I
Austin,
found. And,
Austin had some
shipping
great
it
stuff.
was more than the price of the chair, but I was like, it's from the 70s. And yeah.
Yeah, the
So,
shipping's always the problem.
mhm,
But I mean, you kind of got to bite the bullet.
yeah. What else is on your mind that you want to talk about right now that we haven't covered?
Gosh, I mean, I think moving forward, what I'm looking forward to knowing more about, to learning more about, is how to live more consciously
Hmm.
and more thoughtful with every decision I make. And I think politics has inspired that quite a bit. I think there's been a lot of noise over the last few years. It's really kind of caused me personal and creative anxieties. And home has meant more to me than ever. To come home to that kind of cocooning place, or a place that makes me feel good or proud of myself, even. And
Yeah.
I think during COVID, that's been reinforced. And what I want
Hmm.
to know in the future is, um, I think we're going to, my personal belief is I think it's shifting our value systems at home.
In what way? In what way do
Well,
you think?
I think that we understand the impermanence of home as well,
Hmm.
that it could change tomorrow. I mean, I'm looking at the wildfires in California, and I'm just seeing all of these things that are happening that are impacting people and reminding them how temporary everything is.
Yeah.
And I think that to a certain extent, having a certain lightness at home is a freedom that I want to explore with people, not
Hmm.
just having a lot of stuff. And I guess the best way for me to say that is to talk about like food, because to me it makes more sense. But I think we need to start minimizing the Big Macs and start focusing on some wholesome foods that nourish our bodies and take care of ourselves.
Hmm. Hmm.
And with home furnishings, I think we need to start talking about that conversation as well. It's not the amount that you consume,
Hmm.
because they could all be Big Macs.
Yeah.
It's the quality of it and how it connects to you, empowers you, inspires you, communicates who you are. It's
Hmm.
the legacy that you leave. So those are the things that I'm focused on. And I'm a dreamer, I'm an optimist. I hope that those come into the conversations. I hope when I read Architectural Digest, we start reading about the stories that inspired the people, and and they were really about their value system.
Yeah. We have that's a really good point. I mean, I think we could get into a whole political debate after last night,
Oh my
but
gosh.
I don't know if I want to go there. Okay, we have another question. How important is design? What is this? In consideration to interior design nowadays in our living spaces for ergonomics? Yeah, how important is ergonomic design?
Like how it fits the body.
Yeah, to nowadays, like how is it different now, maybe versus pre-COVID?
Well, I mean, I think it depends. Right now, I'm not sure people are. I think the home's going to change. All I can say is if I built a home tomorrow, I would have dedicated Zoom rooms, because I'm working from home so much
Hmm.
and I want to have the acoustics right, and I want to have privacy for my partners and my friends and my family that are.
Hmm.
I think that we're going to have new rooms. I think we're going to have. We already have the materials that are antiviral or antimicrobacterial, or
Yeah.
what do they call it? Antimicrobial, for
Hmm.
door handles and for flooring. It's already there. So now I think that should become the norm. There's no
That's a really
reason
good
not
point.
to.
I didn't realize
Um,
that those
yeah,
materials were out there yet. I'm not surprised, but
and then also, because I'm living in Palm Springs, what's influenced me, not only because of COVID, but just because of where I'm at in life, is coming up with lifetime homes that you can age in place in. Because the healthcare system for me is so crazy, what I'm seeing is a lot of senior citizens. being over hospitalized when they could go home, but they can't go home because their home has too many stairs, because the countertops are too high, because the bathtub is inaccessible, because they can't shower, because they don't have a space for live-in help, even though they have the money for it. And so I want to start talking to people thoughtfully about life plans of homes to a certain extent, and making sure that countertops can be adjustable, or making sure that the bathrooms are ADA accessible, or making sure that God forbid they end up in a wheelchair, that we can get them home and in the comfort of their own home as quickly as possible, so they don't have to stay in these other compromised environments, which I think aren't great. But I
Yeah.
mean, that's not exactly COVID related, but it's something that's on my mind out here. And it's a tough discussion with people because they don't want to talk about mortality, and they don't want to talk about
That's right.
should things go wrong. But I'm like, since we're doing the countertop heights, we might as well. And it's only going to be a selling point should you sell this house in the future.
Absolutely right.
So,
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, I think, you don't think about it, or a lot of people don't think about it until the time, until something happens to their health or whatever. And but wow, I mean, I really, we could continue this conversation. I love reconnecting with you. I mean, I
you
have
as
big
well,
respect for
Kitten.
you. I'm so happy that you're doing well and enjoying
Thank you. You too.
California and Palm Springs, and I look forward to seeing you some point
Soon.
soon. But we should have another call, with another topic at some point too. So let's think about that.
I love it. I love it. And it's so good to see your face. And I'm so glad you're here on the West Coast. It makes my heart feel happy when my tribe's out here.
I
So
know, I know. Well, I hope to sending you a hug,
oh, thank
and
you, thank
I
you.
hope to see you soon. And
All
let's
right,
make
man.
that happen. And everybody, thanks for joining the call, and I'll post it to my IGTV so you can watch it at a later time. Thanks,
Thanks you
everyone.
guys.
Bye,
Bye.
John.